This episode of the Media Leader podcast was edited by our production partner, Trisonic, a results-focused agency that plans and buys all audio media. Check them out at trisonic.co.uk. That's trisonic.co.uk.
What was coming out of the Gen Z report was, here is an audience, firstly, that we need to treat and respect in the right manner because they are hungry for the truth. Do they know what they're reading is the truth? No.
Bienvenue to the Media Leader podcast. I'm Jack Benjamin, and if you can't already tell by my very poor attempt at French, this is a special episode of the podcast, and for more reasons than one. Not only are we coming to you from sunny Cannes at the Festival of Creativity, but this episode is also being produced in partnership with Channel 4. And how lucky we are, because dare I say, they've been involved in one of the biggest, if not the biggest, story of the week. And we'll get into that in a bit, but first, my guests. I'm delighted to be joined by Channel 4's Chief Commercial Officer, Rak Patel, and Head of Sales Strategy, Samantha Hicks. It's good to see you. Je suis enchanté.
Salut, Jacques. Salut, Jacques. Wow, you're so multi-talented.
That is the extent of my French, and there will be no more French, unfortunately. But I guess, first of all, what brings Channel 4 to Cannes this year? Because it's not every year that Channel 4 or the broadcasters more generally come out to Cannes, but you've all made it.
Yeah, of course. Look, we're delighted to be here, and for a couple of different reasons. I think, firstly, we have to be here. We really do. I think, the conversations that go on, the access you have, the visibility you can have as well with marketers and the industry, there's no other moment in the year that's like this. And for us as a set of broadcasters, it was really important for us to come out this year. And I'm excited about the years ahead, actually. But for us, from a Channel 4 perspective, I think there's three things we want to amplify whilst we're here. I think the first is, Jack, you're very familiar with our purpose. Our purpose is about telling the represented stories, for driving inclusivity into our society. And that is in our DNA, and we're not going to stop that. And I'm sure you've seen our brand film, Sorry, Not Sorry.
Yes.
It's really critical. So for us, with all this DE rollback, there's none of that going on at Channel 4 at all, and we want to sort of keep driving that. The second is we're about to embark on a new advertiser-led, agency-aligned strategy. And what that means is we're combining our very, very strong service heritage with a really progressive and solutions-based sales approach. So moving towards a sales and service model. And then the third thing is the collaboration. You sort of alluded to it in your introduction. Collaborating and radical collaboration, I think, is going to be critical for TV. And so we were so proud of the announcement yesterday with Sky and ITV. And it took some time to get us to that, but we have moved really quickly and recognise that there's going to be some brilliant steps ahead of us as well. So those are the reasons.
And Samantha, what are you hoping to get out of the week? We're recording this on Wednesday morning, so it's still midway through.
Samantha.
Oh, I'm Samantha.
Oh, are you Sam?
You can call me Sam.
Well, we're friendly here. Sam.
We're friendly.
Please call me Sam. It's kind of echoing Rak's point. We need to be here to meet with the advertisers as well and hear the key themes that are coming out from the session. So over the next couple of days, because there's only 2 days left now as well, meeting lots of different clients, lots of conversation around Gen Z. So talking tomorrow about the Gen Z report that we launched earlier in January. That's with Marketing Academy directly there. So talking about trends, truth and trust, which has been like a really key sort of hot topic amongst Cannes itself. So lots of meeting and the collaboration just with ITV and Sky as well, which has been phenomenal this week.
Definitely, and I'll ask you about the Gen Z research in a moment, but the big announcement, as we've already sort of alluded to, is the tie-up collaboration with the other broadcasters as well as Comcast and their Universal Ads product. Can you tell me a little bit about what the news actually is for anyone that somehow missed it in all of the coverage and LinkedIn posts, and if they were here, hopefully also the panels that you did with ThinkBox and others.
Yeah, sure. So between the three of us, we have an intent to bring a premium video marketplace to SMEs, and that will be a biddable and scalable self-serve environment as well. So we're partnering the three of us with Comcast and using their Universal Ads technology. Now what that actually means, there's a couple of things actually, and I'd love to add a bit of context to Jack. I think probably the best place to start is, why is it important? If you think about the universe of advertisers we have amongst the three of us, it's about 7,000 or so. Now if you then go to the AdPace 2025 report from the AA, there's 3 million advertisers in the UK. Right, so from a Channel 4 perspective for us, if you think about how many underrepresented brands there actually are that aren't using TV, that becomes really critical. So, we at Channel 4 and obviously ITV and Sky have got this sort of ambition to bring more advertisers new to TV. That's a really key component. And so then if you think about the small, medium type of advertiser today and where they're advertising, that ease of buy becomes key. And I think TV's always had the hurdle to get over, which is around ease. I think it's such an amazing environment for the major brands, and it's so well regulated and a lot of governance over the top. So making that, that ease, at the point where an SME can get their credit card out, can go and do what's necessary, access incredible inventory, and go and tell their story. I think we're really proud of it.
What type of advice would you give, Sam, to SMEs that are probably really interested in getting on TV? I mean, who wouldn't want to be in a more premium environment, right? But haven't in the past found it easy to do so. So now that you're making it easier for them, what's the conversation like with those types of advertisers?
Well, I think the main point is just about ease, and they're used to using the digital platforms as well. Many of them will have emerged from using digital marketing channels and performance marketing, and it's just thinking about how you can layer that on and bring that experience through into the opportunity for the addressable marketplace. It's just applying those same principles. It's a way of buying and layering in as well the data opportunity. So it moves that perception that you said about earlier as well, in terms of TV could be, is it not for me? And it's like when they're then going into branding, it's like it just shows that it's much more accessible, easier, and can measure through to outcomes as well.
Well, the measurement through outcomes has also been an ongoing process for the broadcasters, and I think that's also really exciting for a lot of SMEs, but also for the big brands that you.
Oh, totally.
100%. I was just going to say, it's closing that data gap. That's what's really been sort of transformative as well. And I think we've got pilot projects in collaboration again with ITV and Sky with Project Lantern, which will then be looking at how you can then drive measure through to measuring online outcomes. So again, for whether you're a big household brand through to like SMEs as well, everybody wants to know how we can drive across all of their channels, how you can drive those outcomes. And I think then when you layer in like the profitability to report as well, and about showing the impact of TV and the profit volume that it drives and the magnifier on the other channels, it's sort of a no-brainer.
So you mentioned Gen Z earlier. You obviously had this big report out earlier this year. CEO Alex Mahon also came out with a very strong speech. Rak, I reported on your own speech that you made a couple months ago at this point about that generation. I'm curious what you see as most important to get right in terms of reaching the next generation of viewers, especially. I know there's a lot of work that the Channel 4 has been doing these days.
What was coming out of the Gen Z report was, here is an audience, firstly, that we need to treat and respect in the right manner because they are hungry for the truth. Do they know what they're reading is the truth? No. And so if you then think about, what we stand for, what you stand for, around truth, it becomes really important that we are driving that into our industry and driving that into all of these points where the Gen Z are going to be. So Alex made the plea, as I said earlier on, to the industry, and it's broken into three parts. One part is centered around a trust mark across any type of content that goes onto the social media platforms where clearly this audience is over-indexing on, right? So that's the first important piece. The second is the prominence of PSB or PSM content. Now, I think this is a really important piece. We've heard some very positive things coming out from Ofcom. You'll know very well, Jack, the Media Act and how that really sort of drove that prominence with the smart TV approach. So hopefully we can sort of play this out in the right manner with social media, so that our content, any PSM content, will have that sort of level of prominence. And then the third area is around, how are these platforms, AI or their LLMs actually learning? Can we sort of help them with, the content that we have? And when I say we, I'm not just talking about Channel 4, I'm talking about, the trustworthy, factually based content from TV, print, etc. and digital, which therefore means that as the algorithms are delivering whatever content that's going to deliver to this audience, it's being done in a way that has that sort of badge of trust and truth over the top of it.
And what does that mean for brands then? I mean, is there a desire, I suppose, from the brands to support the more sort of professional premium media?
Oh, I mean, 100%. And I think just hearing some of the conversations that have been going on in Camden, the topic has been very much around trust, and it is how do we make sure that, it's been a hot topic for years, but I think it's really, with the technology advances at the moment, becoming even more topical. So from a brand's perspective, it's absolutely, and then how do we make sure as well that all of the content that we're producing, one, it's going in the right place, but it's also fulfilling on the entertainment, the educating and the inspiring about their brands and how to align. And I think what was coming out of the research was very much about the worldviews as well. I mean, we all know audiences aren't like a homogenous group, so it's like, how can you take those different worldviews that we were discovering through the research and apply those within your marketing? So, for example, this kind of some of the stereotypes, it's like more socially, environmentally activists. Absolutely they are, but also very locally driven as well about what's happening in their lives. So as a brand, how do you tap into that local? And there's been other reports coming out as well about sort of like the regional variations as well, and what are the issues that are important to them. So we've seen some really interesting advertising that's been coming out that will be answering those needs of whether it's like advice for how do you get a mortgage in your local area, and there's different areas that you can apply that lens to.
And local investment is a core pillar of what Channel 4 does as well. I mean, it's part of
Absolutely.
actually your remit. So how are you looking to expand production support for the different regions?
Can I just add to I thought the last question that you asked there, I mean, all your questions are brilliant, Jack, as always, right? But your last question...
Flattery will get you nowhere.
Well, I know it hasn't, but your last question there about, are brands open to this? Of course they are. Of course they are. And the job we have to do better, and I sort of touched on it right at the beginning around moving from a service model to a sales and service model. What a sales and service model allows us to do is have that conversation, as a drumbeat. And at that point, with CMO, with CFO, with brand directors, with brand managers and so on. And I think, from a Channel 4 perspective, we've not been having that conversation enough. Others have. And our job is to get this into their hands, to really support them, to build out the playbooks. I've worked for an organisation with the Americanisms.
Playbook.
But I think it's key. I really do. So
do they not have playbooks in like football?
No, I don't. Which football are you talking about?
Sorry, not American football. I think it comes from the American football.
Yeah, it does.
Total digression.
No, totally. So I think there's a full circle piece here around. We have so many of these sort of insights. We have so many ways that this can sort of really support that solution-based approach, and the clients have, of course they do. Of course they have that appetite. But they need to know what's out there for them so that they can really lean into it in the right way.
So then tell me about the local investment.
Sure.
And also, I mean, to the point you just made in terms of the brands that are hoping to support that.
Yeah, completely right. So look, I think, over the last couple of years, we've made a really concerted effort in terms of our nations and regions strategy, and it's multi-layered, right? So since 2019, we've now, from a commissioning perspective, invested £963 million, so close to £1 billion worth of investment has gone into the regions. We have a set quota in terms of how much content needs to come from the regions, from the nations and regions, and that is really important for us as well. We also have our own key nations and regions strategy. We now have offices in Manchester, Bristol, Glasgow, Leeds as a headquarters for nations and regions, and I've found that to be really inspiring, actually, because what it's meant is that we are really tapping into the zeitgeist. We're really tapping into business. We're really tapping into the cultures of all of the of the regions of the UK, which then just fuels what we have to do for our purpose. We are creating content with purpose. Merseyside Detectives is a really great example of that, and we'll continue to do it. It's really important for us.
Purpose and diversity as well. I mean, you're speaking for all parts of the country as well. I mean, and you have a remit to do that. I mean, how do you manage that, and what types of brands, I suppose, are interested in tapping into that in particular?
I was just thinking about some of the commissioned shows that you're talking to. So recently commissioned for our branded entertainment that lives on social, Channel 4 Served, which is then using creators from different regions within the UK as well, cookery creators, and showing, things that you don't need to have like 12 million spices from a street market to be able to go and do. That'll be then, these are big ones sort of from the regions coming in and tapping in. So you're also getting that diversity in voices as well as bringing through local nuances. And it is big. it's every kind of brand that's wanting to get involved in terms of, we have ones that are specific to northern, like to sort of some of the different regions. So quite a few Scottish brands were then focusing on the content that's specific to that region. But it's all brands are wanting to tap in, like the big global brands still, because they need to have local relevance, and it's all about how you're driving that relevance in a trusted environment.
We've talked a bit about collaboration already. I mean, it's obviously been a really big thing here at Cannes between the different broadcasters showing up together. But I also want to understand what sets Channel 4 apart from the other broadcasters and also the other streaming companies that you're competing with. So what would you say is particularly unique about what Channel 4 has to offer?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, I think the beauty of our industry in the UK is the three of us can collaborate on things that are universal to us, for sure. But then each of us have, a very sort of set approach and, a clearly defined mission and clearly defined business models. So all three of us have a different business model. Our business model is the remit, it's the purpose. We answer to the government, we answer to Ofcom, as you know, we are commercially funded through advertising. And that, therefore, we start with obviously the purpose and the remit, we really do. So I touched on it right at the top of your wonderful show, Jack. But it's it centres around shining a light on underrepresented voices that need to get heard. It's centred on inclusivity and really driving inclusivity into society. And I've got a really good example of that in a second. It's around ensuring that we are continually funding the ecosystem in this sort of third-party approach, so that the publishing industry or the production industry, publishing was my job of many years ago, but the production community and landscape across the UK. I'm going to give you another example, and it's a show I have got addicted to since I've got to Channel 4, and it's Hollyoaks.
Oh, really? Okay.
Hollyoaks, Jack. Oh my God.
And can I just say, it's 30 years it's been going.
Wow.
So
is that
big
this year,
celebration.
30th anniversary?
30th anniversary
Yeah.
in Liverpool.
At Chester.
Pardon?
Chester.
Oh, I can't get them confused.
No.
Well, no, the event's going to be in
Oh, the
Liverpool.
event.
Yeah.
Okay, the
Yeah.
event in
right,
Liverpool.
okay.
Oh, no, Hollyoaks in Chester.
So a couple of other facts on Hollyoaks. It's the only soap that has growing user figures right now in the UK, so that's one part. But the bit that I want to sort of touch to what you've just, in terms of our remit, what we do here is clearly, we have a very strong news approach, and we know what's, culturally relevant. We also know what's relevant from a news perspective, and we build a lot of those things and societal as well into the storylines for Hollyoaks. So right now there's a really powerful male masculinity storyline, or not feeling masculine as a boy right now, taken right from what's happening in culture right now. So, and I'm addicted because the storylines are amazing. It's brilliant, it really is.
I have to admit, the one thing I've missed out by being an import into the UK are the soaps, and so I need to catch up on apparently 30 years.
30 years worth.
You don't need to do the 30 years. I only started 5 months ago.
Okay.
If I'm being open here, right?
Yeah.
So jump into Hollyoaks. Go and do it. Do it.
There is a lot of noise, and content overwhelm is kind of a buzzword that I hear get thrown around a bit. So I'm curious, what you guys are doing to sort of cut through that noise and deliver content easily to people that want to see it, whether they're on the TV or on the small screen on their phone.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, this leans into the fast forward strategy. So building on sort of the digital first strategy that we had, that for 4 years we have lots of learnings from, and it's very much about the digital transformation journey we're on, which we've been very open about, that we want to have 50% of revenues and be the first from digital revenues by 2030, and be the first sort of UK digital public service broadcaster. So it's very much about having, wherever the audience is, they can go and view the content. So a lovely example that I was chatting to a client about recently was about UEFA at the weekend. So it's all about the cross-platform. So whether you want to watch that on linear, you want to watch it on streaming, you want to watch it on live YouTube, then you want to go and look at all behind-the-scene clips, etc., from TikTok, TikTok and Instagram, from the England football team doing some crazy challenges that we've been given.
Yeah.
So it's very much about reaching those audiences where they are. And again, it is with that, to the point about the content with the purpose, bringing that through. So it really is that fast forward strategy of we need to meet audiences where they are and deliver content that is appropriate to those platforms as well in the format. So are we doing episodic content that's released in different ways on YouTube, and then how that goes through to streaming, linear, vice versa? There's lots of testing that's been going on in the market.
Yeah, totally agree with what Sam said. All I'll add to that is a superpower I think TV has, and Channel 4 within that as well. And it is, the superpower actually isn't trust, but it is all trust related. Right? I actually think the superpower is friction. And what I mean by that is the governance and regulation we have over TV in terms of the creative output that goes onto any of our platforms means that whatever we put out onto any of our platforms, because of that regulation, what it means is that this is something that's trustworthy, this is something that's factually correct, this is something that's not going to try and undermine you, and so on. And what that creates is that implicit trust from our viewer, user or viewer. And I think that sets us apart, right? So you sort of see the sort of stickiness of our users on whatever platform they're on. You know, they will know what they're going to get from us when they come to Channel 4.
It's interesting. I feel like there's a zig versus zag strategy just from hearing you talk about we like friction because it produces quality. It's very different from a lot of frictionless.
Well, can I take it a step further? But this is going to work out in the form of audio, right? But if you take a lot of the other beaches that are on this platform, right? As a consumer, you can just start lying down, right? And Jack, you can tell every listener that I'm lying down,
yeah.
Right? And as you're lying down, you know, perfect content is coming towards you, algorithmic based, right? Okay, great, but you're not building trust of the platform. You know, you're not building rapport, you're not building that level of sort of engagement. And actually, every platform is doing the same thing, right? I think in our world, it is the zag of that, because what we're creating and what we have to foster is that level of trust. We really do, and not just in TV. It's the same in your world. It's the same in, you know, in editorially driven environments and so on as well, right? So I think that's, and I've sort of seen this coming in over the last 5 months. I'm like, wow, that is, you know, and TV sits at the top of every Credus trust indicator, you know, quarter after quarter after quarter. So I think that's, you know, really important for us.
Yeah, and it's also true of sort of data and measurement. I mean, you maybe had one of the best quotes of the week where you said, we want a shared garden, not a walled garden. And I think that, again, that's another example sort of maybe going in a different direction. Final question, in the spirit of Cannes, is there anything especially outrageous or fun that you've overheard over the past couple of days that you are willing and able to share?
I think what's said in the gutter bar stays in the gutter bar.
I heard
it here first.
There were journalists raving at the Baoli last night.
I wasn't one of those journalists.
Right, okay. I'm not going to say which journalists, but I heard they were dancing on chairs and tables.
Well, we wish them all the fun in the world. Rak and Sam, it's been a total pleasure. Thanks so much for chatting with me.
Thank you so much, Jack. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Media Leader Podcast. Our executive producer is me, Jack Benjamin. Special thanks to our production partner, TriSonic. You can find all our episodes on the podcast platform of your choice or on our website at uk.themedialeader.com. But do please remember to subscribe to be notified of our next episode. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at The Media Leader to receive daily coverage of all the biggest news stories in media and advertising. From all of us at The Media Leader, I'm Jack Benjamin. See you next time.